So I think time is up. Let's start up with our today's session. Yeah, so are you guys able to see my screen and hear me properly? Now, what exactly we have learned? The first thing was we had understood the introduction, right? So that is we had understood whatever are the. Second thing was we had understood how exactly we can configure all of those specific the Postman tool, how we will be able to share the request to Pursuit. So this was second thing. After that, we had understood how we will be able to import those specific API calls, right? So normally, just to revise, there will be 5 methods. The first one will be we will be able to take collection files. Okay, they will be either JSON file or they will be XML file. That file will be containing all the details with regards to that request. A very common things are URL of API call, okay, headers, the value of headers, body, or basically the specific parameters, body of the request, right? All of those specific things. So likewise it will be having all those specific details. And what exactly we can do, we can import that collection file to Postman, and all the API calls will be available at that point of time. Second thing will be collection folders. Okay, so in this scenario, if in case if we are having multiple collection files, what we can do is we can combinely import all of them at once, and we are good to go. We will be able to start the testing at that point of time. Next thing will be the web services. So in this scenario, we will be having two types of web services, either WADL or WSDL. WADL will be for specifically for REST APIs, and WSDL will be specifically for SOAP APIs. Now what will happen is basically this is nothing but all those details which we were finding in collection files, the same details will be available as a part of URL format, which can be accessed outside, or basically anyone who is able to access that URL, they will be able to get those specific details. Here manually sharing those files or sending that file to a specific person is not required. You can just share the URL and we are good to go. Fourth one will be raw text, right? So in this scenario we will be getting curl commands, and basically we will be able to upload other curl commands to Postman, and ultimately it will be able to generate the request out of it. Last one will be request and response. Okay, if any of the things are not available, this is the last method from which we will be able to get the details of request and response, and we will be able to execute it. So till now what we had done was basically we had taken up the configuration part and importing part. The next thing will be basically the next thing will be how we will be able to authenticate ourselves, right? So whenever we are going forward and whenever we want to authenticate or we want to authorize ourselves, right? So basically at that point of time, whenever we want a correct response from the server, that yeah, basically if it is a correct request, how we will be able to get the response. If we want that particular response, we need to enter the valid data, so that server will be able to understand that the user who is sending that request is a correct user or is a valid user, right? So when it comes to normal applications, web applications, mobile applications, maximum times they will be using passwords, they will be using OTPs and all of those things. But these things will be requiring a human intervention to access those things, right? There should be a login page where we can enter those details, and then only it will be able to transmit that password from the application side to the server side. When it comes to APIs, normally APIs are totally working in backend, where human manually cannot generate the request and manually cannot modify that request, right? Normally APIs are used for automation purpose or integration purposes. Majorly it is used for backend itself. So at that point of time, for authentication in APIs, we will be having one thing which is API keys, or we can also tell it as a API tokens. It is same thing only, there is no difference between them. So but basically what exactly are API keys or tokens? It is just a random string, okay, for with a specific characters which will be used from the server end to understand whether that user is a valid user or not. Okay, so until and unless we are not having that authentication data, okay, our request, whatever we had imported, those requests will not be getting the proper response because still we are not authenticated. So at that point of time, if we are entering the valid API keys or API tokens, definitely server will be able to identify that this is a valid user, and it will be able to give us the proper, or it will be processing the request. And after that, we will be able to enter our malicious scripts or exploitation payloads, okay, to understand whether that API is vulnerable or not. So in today's session, the main objective for today's session will be the same thing, that whenever we want to get details on that particular API keys tokens, or getting that particular API tokens, right, how exactly we will be able to get those specific details. Okay, we'll be going through some of the programs, we'll be understanding how exactly we can take it, how exactly we can execute our API calls as well. So, but before that, let us understand one thing, which is documentation. Now, what exactly is documentation? It is just a specific details which is given by developers, okay, to developers or to third-party developers. What exactly they will be using the documentation for? Basically, whenever any kind of third-party application wants to integrate this API calls, so what they will do is they will make use of documentation. They will understand how to integrate that API within their code base, and they will be able to successfully do so as well. Okay, so that is the main usage of documentation. What are the details which will be available? Okay, description of APIs, the list of APIs, okay, security which is implemented in APIs, a list of parameters, okay, and in case if there is any kind of required parameters or those specific things, that it will be available, and how we will be able to generate the key, so those specific things, keys or tokens, right? So all of those specific details will be available in the documentation. Overall, the normal documentation pages might vary from 100 to 200 at minimum. Okay, there will be loads and loads of details which will be available. Definitely we will not be requiring that many details at that point of time. So today we will be understanding how exactly we can review that documentation, how exactly we will take out the information which are required for our testing purpose, and how we will be able to start up our API penetration testing as well. Okay, now there, first of all, before going to the documentation, okay, let us understand normally all the programs whatever you will be seeing, okay, 99% of the programs will be having documentation itself, but there might be few of the programs which directly gives you API calls or API details, okay, and they will be directly giving you the key itself. Okay, so at that point of time they might not require as proper documentation to be shared, so at that point of time we might not have it, but majorly like 99% of the time you will be having documentation where all the details will be available. So now let us go through those specific things and let us understand how exactly we will be able to see the documentation at that point of time. So basically this is again a bug crowd, right? You guys might be knowing about this one. It is a bug bounty platform where companies will be hosting their bug bounty programs, and researchers will be able to go forward and validate whether there is any kind of vulnerabilities or not. If you are going forward and if you are searching for APIs, the programs which are having APIs in scope, okay, those specific programs will be listed down. Okay, there are multiple programs at that point of time. We will see few of them, okay, and the process will be similar for other of them. So definitely I will give you guys a few of the programs as a part of assignment as well. Let us select few of the program. Okay, so basically yeah, so whenever you are going forward with the program, there will be few details which will be available here. This will not be specifically for APIs or web applications. This will be minor or major do's and don'ts, which are the, whenever we are researching or whenever we are exploiting any kind of vulnerabilities, we need to validate before that. Okay, so basically there will be some kind of guidelines that you how to use the specific email ID whenever you are testing. You have to use the specific API key whenever you are testing, something like those type of warnings or those specific type of guidelines will be available at that point of time. Okay, they will also be available whenever whatever are the things which are in scope and out of scope. Something like this is out of scope. Even though you are testing and you are finding any kind of vulnerabilities, normally it will not be accepted by the program, or definitely even though if it is accepted, it will not be having any kind of payouts at that point of time. Okay, so whenever we are seeing here whatever are the things which are in scope, you can see API testing, right? So there are two of the APIs which are available in scope, right? And this is the things which we need to test. Again, if you go down, okay, there will be few of the focus areas which we need to focus, and in focus they are asking us to focus majorly on admin and upload APIs. So that is the place where we will be majorly focusing on. But again, there will be different other functionalities as well, okay, where we can test and we can validate whether there is any kind of vulnerabilities or not. Out of the scope things we will not be testing up, okay, and the out of the scope vulnerabilities, again we will not be testing up that point of time. What we will be doing is, now here you can see they have given us the URL for APIs, right? And if I open this particular both of the URLs of API call, here I'm getting something like 4034 forbidden, and in the second API I'm getting some kind of blank page, right? Now as a normal person, definitely it will be something like this is the bad implementation, or basically this is their application is not properly working, right? All of those things will be available. But why exactly we are getting this one? Because basically whenever these are the APIs, our browser will not be able to generate the request of APIs. So at that point of time, what will happen is we will be getting the result something like this one itself, because our browser does not have that much capacity where it will be generating it will be able to take the request of that particular API calls. Whenever we want to make the same API calls accessible, we need to go through the scenario which we had understood in our previous session. Something like taking the request, okay, in Postman, and then we will be able to go forward and get the request. So basically we'll be able to either take all the things which are available here, something like collection files, web services, whatever are the things which the program has given to us, and based on that we will be able to process the request. So it's the same thing, okay? Why we had done this many things, why we had learned this many things? Because whenever you will be getting the URLs from your client or from your bounty programs, definitely it will not be in an accessible format. We have to go through this particular procedure, okay, to access those API calls. Now second thing is how exactly we can get these details. If it is your client, you can just call them and ask that, okay, I want collection file or I want to send to that particular stuff. But if it is a bug bounty program, definitely we cannot call them again and again, right? So they will be having this type of scenario which will be available within their program page itself. They might be giving different naming conventions. Some will tell it is documentation, some will tell it is docs, some will tell it is API description. Okay, it might be anything. It will be upon us how exactly we can you will be able to identify, but they will be giving you some kind of link where you will be able to find the API documents or API docs, and we are good to go. We will be able to understand that yeah, this is the documentation link which is available. We'll click on that, and we will be able to get the information out of it. Okay, normally within the documentation there will be loads and loads of information. We don't need to go through each and every information. We can just find the specific API calls information only. Okay, so if I go to references, which is again the shortcut of this one itself, basically there are multiple API calls: upload API, admin API, search API. Okay, and likewise upload widget and video player API. Likewise multiple API calls are available. For now, whenever we are starting up, what exactly they have given us to focus, okay, which is admin API or upload APIs, right? So basically at that point of time, normally what we will be doing is we will be going to the same thing. Here it is upload API. I can just go forward and I can click on it. So what exactly we will be getting at that point of time? The first one is upload and those things. If I go to admin API, I will be getting the similar kind of things itself, right? So what exactly will be the first thing? First thing will be API description. What exactly that API will be doing at that point of time. So here you can see API is a rate limited API that provides full control of uploaded media assets fetched by the social media profiles and other things. Okay, so what exactly this API will be able to do? It will be having the full control on whatever are the things which are uploaded to that particular server. Okay, so it will be like for that particular user, it will be that particular API call will be having full control over it. Second thing will be it will be by default accessed by HTTPS, and this is how the API will be looking like. Okay, and basically the request will be something like looking like this one. Okay, so this is the overall description. Whenever we are starting up with our API testing, normally in web, like it is not similar to web application testing, because in web application testing this type of descriptions and all those stuff will not be there, because whatever you are seeing you will be able to understand at that point of time that this is the functionality of it. If I go to login, I will be able to understand that this is the login page, but in API those type of scenario will not be happening. This is admin API call. I cannot just look into request and I cannot understand that this is the API call which is used to access the admin functionalities, right? So that is why description is much more necessary. Now within your projects you will be having loads and loads of API calls. Remembering functionality of each and everything will not be possible. So what exactly we are going to do? We will be going forward and we will be creating a specific page or specific the repository for each and every API call which we are testing at that point of time. Normally the first thing will be API call. So here the functionality is admin API call, right? This is first thing. Second thing will be description. Okay, so in our notes what we are going to do is we will be taking the description of it, whatever are the things which are mentioned in that particular documentation. Okay, now the next thing will be authentication. Okay, so how exactly we can authenticate at that point of time, whether they have provided us some kind of links or something like that from which we will be able to authenticate or not. So the next thing will be here itself they will be explaining us how we will be able to authenticate ourselves. The API uses basic authentication over HTTPS. Your Cloudinary is the program name. Okay, so basically here you can see this is their organization's name or application name. API key and API secret, which can be found on dashboard page of Cloudinary console. So there will be a Cloudinary console, and in that there will be a dashboard page where we will be able to find our details, which is API key and API secret. Those specific things will be used for the authentication. We can take those specific details from that place and we can replace it with the API key and those parameters, and we are good to go. Now here we are getting curl command. Okay, so basically if you remember in our previous session we had already learned that when it comes to curl command, how exactly we can import the same thing. It was our fourth way from which we will be able to import. So here they have given the same thing to us, right? But before jumping to that, before importing that, let us understand whether we are getting that particular details or not. So where exactly we can find this Cloudinary console? Let's go to their main program page itself, and basically we will be seeing the in scope type targets. So in scope you can see Cloudinary console, right? We will be able to click on that. Okay, and basically they are asking us for our credentials, and after that basically we'll be able to log into the console as well. Currently my previous password was already gone, and I'm not using my main account, okay, for this demonstration, so I'm using some kind of temporary email ID. But whenever you guys will be testing on the same, definitely don't use temporary ID, because you will be required, okay, to use your background email addresses only for testing. Okay, so I'm showing this demonstration, so I'm not using my account, but definitely, like, whenever you guys will be testing and finding the vulnerabilities, if you are going through that particular address, then only the bugs will be accepted. Other than that, they will not accept your bug. Okay, I will just quickly sign up to authenticate ourselves. Okay, and we will just sign into that. Just a developer. Yep. So now once we are logged in, okay, we have not done anything here. We have just gone to that particular console which was available, or which they have told us to go to in our the documentation page. Once we have gone to that particular page, we have just logged into that place, and we are seeing this place which is dashboard, right? Again, it was mentioned here that API key and secret we will be able to find over dashboard page in Cloudinary console. So currently we are in that console, right? And in that we will be going to dashboard page. Normally we will be able to get those specific details which are available. So here you can see what exactly are the things which are required. Again, we can go through that particular place. We are requiring API key, API secret, and cloud name for our authentication. So here you can see API key, API secret, and cloud name. So again, we have gotten our authentication details. First one is API key. We'll go forward and we will copy it. API secret, we will go forward and we will copy that one, and cloud name. So this is the one. And now normally there is one another thing which is API environmental variable. Okay, it is not necessary, but again it is given by the application, so we will take it. Now every time you will not be able to find this many details. Okay, something like every application will not be using multiple things for authentication. For example, in this application they are using API keys and API secret. Okay, basically they are using two things for authentication. In other applications you might be able to find just one, okay, that is API key only. Many times you might be able to find two. Okay, so basically it will be totally depending on what exactly is the application which you are using, okay, or which you are testing at that point of time. So basically now that we have gotten the authentication, okay, how exactly we can authenticate, let us go forward and basically let us understand how exactly we can execute, we can import that API call, we can use our authentication, and we can get that particular proper response from the server as well. So they have given us curl command. Okay, this application is using curl command, okay, to share that particular API calls. Many times they might be directly asking you to download collection files. Okay, many times they might be giving you web services. It will be depending on the program to program, but you will be getting out of those 5 things only, okay, whatever we have mentioned in our previous session. Now that we are having curl command, we know exactly how we will be able to go forward and import it. Let us open Postman, and in Postman we will be going to our import tab. So here you can see we are having import, and curl command we will be able to import it via raw text. We'll go to raw text and we will paste that particular API call. Okay, the curl command. Now in that curl command there are few things which we want to update. The first one is API key, second one is API secret, and third one is cloud name. So these things, there it will be changing from user to user, so they have just made that parameter, and they have also told us that we need to replace those specific things for whatever are their particular details which they have given to us. So we are having API key, I will just copy it, I will paste it instead of API key parameter. There is API secret, so I will take API secret, will copy it, and we will paste it instead of API secret. Last one is cloud name. So basically we will take that cloud name here. This is the third one. We will paste it instead of cloud name. Done. Right. So now that we are having all the details which are necessary for us to prepare that particular API call, what we are going to do is we will continue and we will import. So you can see our request has been generated. Now we need to intercept it to test it, right? So basically we will configure our burp suite so that we can test that particular API call. So I will go forward, and here is our burp suite. We will go to options, we will add that particular port number for taking the request from postman tool. We will go to intercept, we will turn on the intercept mode as on. We'll just cross verify, as this is first time, we will just cross verify whether those specific details, the proxy settings, are available in postman or not. So localhost 8081, and the SSL certificate validation is off. Same thing has been configured in burp suite as well, which is localhost and 8081. We'll turn on our intercept, we will send this particular request. Here it is taking the request from my browser, I will just disable it. We will forward the request, and here you can see the request from postman tool has came up, right? So basically this is the request. Let us go forward and check whether we are getting proper response or not. So in our last session, what exactly, whenever we have imported the request, right, with either any of the method, normally we were getting the response of 500, 401 or 404, where it was just telling that you are an unauthorized user. But here we have used proper authentication, where we have entered our details, right? So actually our server was able to authenticate ourselves, it was able to give us 200 OK response, and we are getting all the details which are specifically for our user. Now that we have configured the API calls, we have configured our authentication tokens, now that afterwards we'll be able to start testing for the vulnerabilities as well. Any doubts, any queries till now, guys? Okay, so yeah, now it will be looking much more bigger, right? So basically this is the request, it is coming from postman, and we are getting this type of response where all the details are available for our account here, right? So likewise we'll be able to see. Any doubts, any queries till now? Doubts, let us go through, and let us go through one more program so that we can see that how exactly other programs are also working, right? How exactly we'll be able to get the API calls of those specific things as well. So basically this is one of the other program. Okay, same thing. The first thing will be you will be able to get the details about overall general program. You'll be getting out of scope, you'll be getting the primary targets. Here you can see we are having API as a part of API penetration testing. If you click on it, again same thing, this is not the issue with our browser or their server, okay, but APIs will be having the backend itself, and our browser will not be able to generate those API calls. So definitely we will not be getting any kind of response in browser even though we are opening that URL. But if you are opening that web application, definitely you will be able to get those specific details. Let me just reload it. So likewise, basically you will not be able to see those specific things whenever you are opening that particular API call. So now how exactly we can check? So in previous one, they have directly told us, right, that this is the documentation. Many times they will not be telling us that this is the documentation. They might be telling it as libraries or docs. Okay, likewise. So basically here you can see libraries. If I just do a quick search, something like docs or doc, okay, you'll be able to see. So there are two of the matches, and here you can see this is the docs, right? You'll be able to identify that this is the documentation which they have provided, or they have provided to other developers and the security researchers as well. Overall there will be different the overall functionalities. Okay, normally whenever we are going forward and you are seeing here, you can see the APIs. Okay, you can just do the quick search on API and you will be able to find that there is a few of the API matches, and this is the place where API details will be available. Okay, we are not that much interested in their web applications currently. We are interested in their API calls itself. That's why we have searched for API and we are getting that particular information as well. Second thing is config API overview, and here all the overview of what exactly that APIs are performing, those specific details will be available. Okay, something like that API will be having the list of all the workspaces. Okay, something like sources and destinations, all those things will be able to, it will be able to do. You'll be able to, or APIs will be able to create a new destination, delete them. They'll be able to create a new users, assign them to specific roles. They'll be able to capture, disable, view, okay, all the destinations. They'll be able to do tracking. They'll be able to view the sources and destinations. All of those specific things can be done by those APIs. So whenever we will be starting up with the new project, the first thing will be API. Okay, so here the name of the application is segment. We will be entering the second thing as functionalities. Okay, so basically at that point of time, whatever are the things which are possible with API, we will just paste it down. The next thing will be how exactly we can do other authentication and what are the list of APIs which are available. So here we'll be able to see, so there are few of the services of APIs. Basically there is a quick start, and the first thing is access tokens. Many applications use the word as authentication tokens. Many will be using API keys, many will be using access tokens. There is not any kind of difference between them. Okay, it is just the terminology which is different from application to application or organization to organization. So you can use a config API with the access token to programmatically access segment resources, okay, that token can access. Access tokens can be created by workspace owners using access management page. Okay, so there will be one access management page. There we can create the access tokens. Okay, so basically those specific things are there, and there are few more information in authentication doc. Okay, and this is the API request. Again, it is in the call statement. So let us go forward and let us check where exactly the access management page will be available, where we can create it. We'll go back to our resources. We'll open. Yep. So basically we are in that particular application. I will just quickly uh, use or fill up that particular details. There are few of the things: sources, destinations, health, catalog, right? So all of those details we have already checked, right? So basically here all the details were there. So what exactly is sources, what exactly is destinations, all those specific things. And when we see, normally we had also understood that whenever we are having this API, it will be able to manage this type of details, right? Let us go forward and let us check for the access management page. If we go to settings, here you can see access management page, right? We'll just go through that, and there is this one which is tokens. We'll click on tokens, and currently we are not having any kind of tokens, right? Again, if we see in the authentication, normally access tokens are created by workspace owners using the access management page. So currently we have logged in as our main account, okay, and we are eligible to create the token as well. We'll click on token. Here it is asking us for the description. I will just enter as admin. We'll give the assignment, or we will give the permissions as workspace owner. We'll create that token, and here we can see the created token is this one. And make sure you copy your new config API token. You won't be able to see it again, right? So we will copy it. We will go through the authentication, and here we will paste that token. This is the token which we'll be using for authentication purposes. We'll click on done. So this is the second step which we had understood. Now the thing is, where exactly we'll be able to find the API calls, right? So at that point of time, there was one of the API call which was available here. So here you can see API request, and basically our APIs are available. What I can do is I can just copy it. Again, it is curl statement. What we are going to do is we will go forward. We will go to import raw text, paste the curl statement. Here there is the option which is access token. What we are going to do is we will take out the access token which we have generated. We will paste it here. We'll go to continue. We'll go to import. Currently we have imported the scene. We click on intercept as on. We will send the request. So this is the request which is coming from Postman. Again, the API call is from here. We are getting the token which we had entered is here. We'll go to repeater. We'll send the request. Okay, and we are good to go. We are getting 200. Okay. Now, in case our token was not correct, what would have happened? For example, my token is not correct and I have entered some random stuff. If I send the details, what I will get is 403 forbidden and authentication error because the token is not correct. But whenever we have generated the token is correct. If I send the request, means 200 okay, and I will be getting my details. So my display name is this, my ID is this, my create time is this, likewise. So any doubts, any queries till now, anyone? So now I will give you guys another one. We will take one of the other program, and I will show you one another thing as well, so that we will be getting an overview of if you are getting any kind of program, definitely you will be able to take the APIs calls from. So let me select one of it. So again, this is one of the other program. Okay, now I want to give you the scenario. So till now, okay, we have considered, we had understood that what exactly will be the things which will be happen in major of the programs. Majorly, okay, 99% of the programs will be having documentation. You will be having documentation. You will be able to follow the steps which we have followed till now, and we are good to go. We will be able to generate the API keys, will be able to understand what exactly APIs are doing, and will be able to import the request as well. There is 1% chance where you might not get documentation. So at that point of time, how exactly will be able to do? First thing is, let us understand which are the API calls which will be definitely giving us documentation, and which are the API calls which does not require documentation at all. Okay, there will be two types or two ways from which developers will require the APIs. The first one will be they want other application developers to integrate the same. Okay, these APIs are called public APIs. Normally, this particular APIs, okay, for something like Google Maps API, Segment, Cloudinary, whatever we have seen, developer wants other developers, okay, to integrate their APIs so that they can get the subscription fee, and the APIs will be able to get will be useful for other applications as well. This type of API calls will definitely have documentation, because whenever there is public API, they want that API to integrate with other applications. They need documentation to complete its purpose. Now it will be having the second thing. Okay, basically sometimes developer will not require, or sometimes developer does not want specific API calls to get integrated with third-party applications. They have just made that API call for a specific function only. Something like many times you might see payments application APIs. Sometimes you might see some kind of checkout APIs, okay, or any kind of APIs, something like profile creation APIs. Those type of APIs, okay, many times you will be able to see those API calls and they will be used for specific purpose only. Something like it will be used in the same application only, and that API calls will not be used for other applications in the same organization or other applications, any kind of third-party applications as well. So at that point of time, if I am having that particular type of API which I don't want any other person to integrate, definitely I will not require documentation, okay, to share it with other, because definitely will not be able, or anyone does not need to integrate that API call itself. So what will happen is basically these API calls, which are public API calls, they require those details for integration. Something like they require API key for authentication. They require collection files to get collected for with other developers, something like that. But as these APIs are never going to get used by any kind of third-party person, they does not require any kind of collection files or any kind of API keys, those kind of things. So what will happen is whenever this kind of API calls will be available, they will just take the details from the applications which executed that API call. Something like if any kind of website is having that API call for that particular purpose only, that API can run in that API can get executed in that particular web application itself. The same API call cannot get executed from any other applications. Okay, that is first thing. Now what will happen is basically for authentication, as the user is already authenticated in that web application, API will take the same data out of it. Okay, so API does not require separate API keys or separate API tokens to authenticate. It will just take whatever are the things which are available in web application, something like session IDs, and it will use that as a part of the authentication token, and it will give the response. Okay, so same thing happens here as well. For example, here are the list of API calls. Here API testing is there. Okay, but if we are going to go forward, normally here are the list of API calls which they have just listed out. Now in this scenario, for example, I am not having those kind of any kind of resource where I can get those details. So what I can do, what we are going to do is basically we will take their main application, okay, and at that point of time we will use the functionalities. Okay, I will be able to execute all the functionalities of that application. In between, the specific API calls will get executed. Let us see the same thing. I will take this URL, will go forward and we will execute. Now what I will be doing is I will go forward and I will take one by one each and every functionality. So here I have intercept as off, but all the requests are going through Bubshoot and then it is only getting the. So same thing we will be able to see in HTTP history as well. What I will do is I will first just delete all the things. I will just clear out the history. So currently we are not having any kind of HTTP history. We will go through one by one functionalities and then we will see whether any kind of API call is available or not. What I will do is I will take my intercept as on. I will go to create account. This is the first functionality, right? We will go forward. I will forward it. Okay, I will just click on continue with Apple or Google or Facebook. So here if we forward, so at that point of time, here you can see the request which is originated by that web application is this one, api-v2.soundcloud.com. If we go forward and if we check out that particular page of that one, and if we see if it is in scope or not, so here you can see api.soundcloud.com. API is the version is different but same thing. Okay, they will be using this particular thing for the load balancing stuff. So at that point of time, same thing, it will be having that particular scope. Again, whenever we are going through the authentication, it will call that particular APIs likewise. Okay, so whenever that type of situation is getting occurred, where you are not getting the specific documentation, or you are not getting those specific type of details, where you are not available, you are not able to generate the key or those kind of stuff. So at that point of time, okay, the say reason will be the application will be using that API calls for specific purpose which they don't want any other application or any other application to get integrated with. So those API calls will be executed from that web application only, okay, from that particular application only. You can just go through one by one functionalities. For example, we have currently used sign up, right? Likewise, login. Okay, if you are clicking on login, this API call will get executed. We will be able to go forward and take the request. We'll be able to start our execution. Basically, we'll be able to start our vulnerability assessment as well. Okay, so likewise we'll be able to do so. Any doubts, any queries till now?